Hello, my lovely students. I'm Rajveer Kaur. I'm a mindful chemistry coach, and I teach 11th and 12th class science students the subject of chemistry and help them get above 90% marks in their final chemistry exams. And also, I help them prepare for the entrance exams and get the desired results there also. So, from this very video, I'm going to start with the solutions to the back exercise of NCERT 12th class. That is the very first chapter, the solid state. Now, in every video, I will be giving only the solutions to 5 questions. Now, why am I doing this? There is a purpose for doing this, because when the students, they keep on studying for long hours and at the end they feel that they are not getting the desired results. This is a big reason why they don't get the desired results, because they do not give sufficient time to their own mind to absorb the education, absorb the information, the knowledge they have got, and they keep on pouring in a lot of stuff together. So what I suggest is, do not study for long hours altogether. Just take breaks in between, and it will increase your retention, and it will also increase your productivity. Your results will automatically change. I know you are occupied, you are quite busy in your life as a student, but if you do this, you know what, it is going to bring magic in your results. All right, so let us now start with the first exercise, that is from the solid state, the back exercise, NCERT solutions. Let's see what is the question number 1. So the question number 1, it is define the term amorphous. Give a few examples of amorphous solids. Amorphous. We need to define the term amorphous. Now, before moving into amorphous, we need to understand from where this term is coming. So on the basis of the nature of arrangement of particles in a solid, there are 2 types of solids. One is crystalline solid and the other one is the amorphous solid. Crystalline and amorphous. Now, why am I telling you this? Just because I want you to get all the clarity on this very concept. Now, when we are talking about crystalline solids, they have a long range order. Long range order. What is the meaning of long range order? That is, their particles are arranged in a specific manner throughout the crystal. Wherever you will look, whichever part of the crystal you will take, it will be having the same arrangement as that of the other part of the crystal. All right. So for example, there are 2 types of particles which are constituting a solid, which is crystalline. So there will be a regular specific arrangement of the particles in a long range order. So like this, it will be just like this. Or simply, we can just show it like this, that there is a solid and its particles are arranged in a very, very unique way and orderly manner. So this will be the crystalline solid. Now, when we are talking about the amorphous solids, in these, there will be short range order. Short range order. Now, what is the meaning of short range order? Short range order means that the particles in one side, in one specific region of the amorphous solid, they will be having a different arrangement. The next part will be having a different arrangement. So simply we can just present it like this, that there is no ordered arrangement of the particles throughout the solid. No ordered arrangement is there. Now, the amorphous solids, they have the tendency to flow. They can flow. So they are also known as the supercooled liquids. Okay, now I think you understand what is the meaning of fluidity. The tendency to flow is fluidity. So liquids, they can flow, but they flow very, very slowly. Very, very slowly. So they are known as supercooled liquids, or they are known as pseudo solids, because solids, they do not flow. Okay, so they are also known as pseudo solids. Now, if you consider the glass panes of windows, and after many years, what happens is the glass panes, they become thicker at the base. The base of the window pane, it becomes thicker, and the above part, it remains thin. This means the particles, they have flown down in the direction of gravity. All right. So they have the tendency to flow. So for example, the amorphous solids are glass, plastics, rubber. So these are the examples of amorphous solids. So they are having short range order. They are supercooled liquids, or they are also known as pseudo solids. They have the tendency to flow very, very slowly. All right. So now let us move into the second question. Let's see what is the statement for it. What makes glass different from a solid such as quartz? So we need to tell what is the difference between quartz and glass. Under what conditions could quartz be converted into glass? So difference between quartz and glass. Glass is there, quartz is there. Now, if we see the chemical composition, both are made up of SiO4 units, both glass as well as quartz. The difference is glass is amorphous and quartz is crystalline. Now, hope you understand what is the difference between amorphous and crystalline solid. So that is the reason why I was focusing more on that. Okay, so here you can very easily understand. Okay, both have the tetrahedral arrangement of SiO4 units, but the SiO4 units are randomly arranged in case of glass, and they are very sequentially arranged in case of quartz. Okay, now we need to tell how we can convert quartz into glass. What we need to do is we need to just simply heat it and melt it. After heating and melting, we will be abruptly cooling it down. Without giving much time to it, we will be cooling it down. So cool fast. So we will be cooling it fast. Now it will get converted into glass. Now why so? Why is it getting converted into glass when we are heating it and very fast we are cooling it down? Just because when we will be cooling it down at a very fast rate, the particles will not get enough time to get arranged into a specific orderly manner. This is the only difference between quartz and glass, that the arrangement, that is the ordered arrangement, is different. There is short range order in glass, there is long range order in quartz. So when we do not give sufficient time to the particles for arranging themselves into an ordered manner, then what happens? Glass is formed from quartz. Hope this is clear to you. And let us now move into question number 1.3. So the question number 1.3 is, let's see the statement. We need to classify the following solids. All right. Classify each of the following solids as ionic, metallic, molecular, network or covalent, or amorphous. Okay. So we have been given a list of 11 solids that we need to classify whether they are ionic or metallic or molecular or covalent or amorphous. All right. So let us take the first one. First one is tetraphosphorus. Tetraphosphorus dicoxide. So it is P4O10. Now this is a molecular solid. Molecular solid. Why molecular solid? It is composed of molecules and there will be some kind of interaction between the molecules. Some kind of interaction. There is either it can be hydrogen bonding, it can be van der Waals interactions, or any other dipole-dipole interactions can be there between the molecules. So it is a molecular solid. It is composed of molecules. Then the second one is ammonium phosphate. Ammonium phosphate. All right. So it is NH4 thrice PO4. This is the formula for ammonium phosphate. Now, if you see it carefully, it is composed of ions. It is composed of two types of ions, that is the anions and the cations. So ammonium cation is there and phosphate anion is there. PO4 3 negative. Phosphate anion is there. Now these are ions, so it will be ionic solid. The solids which are formed of in which the constituent particles are ions, those will be considered as ionic solids. Then the third one is silicon carbide. Now it is a covalent solid. Covalent solid. Now, why is it a covalent solid? Between all the silicon carbide units, there are covalent bonds. When all the units are connected together through covalent bonds, they will be known as covalent solids. Okay, or they are also known as network solids. Then the fourth one is I2. Again, it is a molecule. I2 is a molecule. And when we talk about the interaction between the I2 molecules, it is not a bond. It is not a proper covalent bond. It is an interaction. It is induced dipole interactions. That is the London forces, or we can say van der Waals forces. So this is because it is composed of molecules. It is also a molecular solid. Then the fifth one is P4. Again, it will be a molecular solid. Then the next one, sixth one, plastic. So we have already done that the plastics are amorphous solids. That is, they will be having short range order of the arrangement of constituent particles. All right. Next is graphite. Now, graphite, it is an allotropic form of carbon. It is composed of carbon, and all the carbon atoms, they are connected together through covalent bonds. Okay, so it is a covalent solid. Then the next one is brass. Now, brass is an alloy which is composed of copper and zinc. Copper and zinc both are metals. Okay, so it is a metallic solid, because there will be metallic bonds between the kernels and electrons. So it is a metallic solid. Next is rubidium. It is also a metal. So it is also a metallic solid. LiBr, lithium bromide. Li positive ion, Br negative ion, ionic solid. Then the last one is silicon. Silicon is a covalent solid because the silicon atoms, they are joined together through covalent bonds. Okay, hope this is clear to you. Let us now move into question number 4. Let's see what is question number 4. What is meant by the term coordination number? Coordination number. What is meant by the term coordination number? Suppose you are standing with your friends and 4 of them are holding you, like somebody is holding your hand, one hand, the other hand, and somebody is holding you from your shirt, not to fight with you, of course, but you are just playing some game and 4 people are holding you. Now, they are the closest people to you at the time. So at the time, your coordination number is 4. So it is the number of atoms which are the nearest neighbors to an atom and they're touching that atom. Nearest neighbors and they're touching that atom, then that is the coordination number. So it is the number of atoms touching another atom that is their nearest neighbors. Nearest neighbors. Okay, for example, if we consider this atom and suppose it is surrounded by as many numbers, whatever it comes out to be. Okay, it is surrounded by 5 atoms which are touching it. So the coordination number will be 5. For this, the coordination number is going to be 5. Okay, then let us move into the second part of this question. The second part of this question has 2 subparts. We need to tell what is the coordination number of atoms in a cubic close packed structure. So first part is we need to tell what is the coordination number of an atom in cubic close packed structure. Cubic close packed structure, that is CCP. Okay. Now in CCP, the kind of arrangement of the atoms we need to first consider, because we know that there is first a single layer formation, a 2-dimensional layer is formed, and above that another layer is placed, then another layer is placed, and another layer is placed. Like this, the crystal is formed. Now in case of cubic close packed structure, there is an arrangement of layers in a way that we can find 3 types of layers. layer A, layer B, layer C. So let us first draw the various types of layers that are there in cubic close packed structure. So suppose there is an atom at the center and it is surrounded by 6 more atoms. So it is sort of hexagonal arrangement. So in this case, if I consider the central atom, how many atoms are touching it? 6 atoms. So the coordination number of this atom, according to this very layer, it will be 6. Okay. Now we have already discussed that there are 3 types of layers in cubic close packed structures. So the second layer is like this, the triangular arrangement. Okay. In the third layer, there is again a triangular arrangement, but it is inverted than the previous layer. Now this layer is known as A layer, this is B layer, this is C layer. After the third layer, that is the C layer, the first layer is repeated. So this is the arrangement of cubic close packed structure, how the various layers are arranged. Again, there is A layer. So after 2 layers, that is second and third layer, the first layer is getting repeated. Now after that, again, there will be B layer. Okay, now why I have shown it twice, then you can just draw the C layer also, so that I can take the in-between layer so that we can consider all the atoms which are touching it. So from this layer, we have already done that there are 6 atoms which are touching it. So the coordination number from layer A is 6. Now when we are considering the layer B, it is not at a distance from the layer A. Actually, when we are talking about the crystal lattices, all the atoms, they are touching each other. The first layer, it is touching the second layer. Then there is a third layer. Okay, so here what will happen? If I say that this is layer A and above this layer, there is layer C. Above this layer, there is layer C. And above the layer C, there is B. Above that, there is layer A. Now you just consider the in-between A layer. There are 3 atoms from the layer C which are placed just above the layer A. So 3 atoms will be touching this central atom from the layer C. So the coordination number from this will be 3. Similarly, if we consider this layer, the B layer, the 3 atoms of B layer, they will also be touching the central atom of the layer A. So there are also 3, there is also 3 coordination number from layer B. So the total atoms which will be touching the central atom in the layer A, it is equal to 12. So 3 plus 6 plus 3, it will be equal to 12. So the coordination number in case of cubic close packing, it is equal to 12. So this is the coordination number. Okay, let us now move into question number, the second sub part of the second part of question number 1.4. Okay, so let's move into the part B. We need to tell what is the coordination number of a body-centered cubic arrangement. So body-centered cubic arrangement. So first of all, I'm just drawing this cube. You can also draw it along with me. So one thing I will suggest you, one more thing I want to suggest you is that take lots of notes, keep writing the things, the retention increases with that. Okay, so when we are talking about a body-centered cubic arrangement, there are atoms at the corners. All the corners are occupied by the atoms, and at the center of the body of this cube, there is another atom. Okay, now this is the simple visualization of a cube, that is the body-centered cubic arrangement. In actual practice, what happens is that all these atoms, they are touching each other. We are just representing the centers of the atoms. These are all just representing the centers of the atom. But in actual practice, if we consider the cube in reality, what will happen? The atoms, they will be touching each other. Okay, so this is the center. So in the figure, it is some kind of, mismatch is there. So the point is all the atoms are touching each other. So these atoms, they are touching each other and the central atom also. So the 4 atoms which are on this face, on the above four corners and the four atoms on the below four carbons, they are all touching the atom which is present at the body center. So this means the coordination number is going to be 8. All right, hope this is clear to you. Now let us move into the next question, that is question number 5. So you need to just imagine, in solid state there is a lot of imagination. All right, so you need to just think of it that we are just representing dots to simplify the things. Otherwise all the atoms, they are touching each other. Okay, so let us now move into question number 5. The question number 5 is, how can you determine the atomic mass of an unknown metal if you know its density and dimensions of its unit cell? So there is an unknown metal for which we need to find out the molecular or the atomic mass. We need to find out the atomic mass. We have been given the density and we have the dimension. Dimension means we have the edge length. So we have a cube. So you can just draw all the sides equal. We have this cube. Okay, the edge length is suppose A. All the edge lengths are equal because we are talking about a cube. So edge length is given and we are considering it as equal to A. Second, we have been given the density. Density is equal to rho. Now we need to find out what will be the atomic mass of the metal. Okay, now first of all, density of unit cell. Density of unit cell, it will be equal to mass of unit cell upon volume of unit cell. Mass of unit cell upon volume of unit cell. Now volume of unit cell, the unit cell is cube. We know it is cube. So we have considered that the edge length is A. So the volume of the cube will be A cube. This value we know. We need to find out the mass of the unit cell. Now, in each type of unit cell, there is a specific number of atoms per unit cell. Let the number of atoms per unit cell is equal to small z. Okay, now we need to find out what is the mass of the unit cell. Mass of the unit cell will be equal to the number of unit cells multiply the number of atoms per unit cell multiplied by the mass of one atom. So mass of unit cell will be equal to number of atoms per unit cell multiplied by mass of unit cell, mass of one atom, mass of one atom. So how you can find out the mass of an atom? Mass of an atom, it is equal to its molar mass upon Avogadro's number. Molar mass upon Avogadro's number, capital M upon Na. So mass of unit cell will be equal to, now this is the number of atoms per unit cell. It is equal to Z multiplied by the mass of an atom. So it is M upon Na. So we have now everything. We just need to put the values. So density we have considered as rho. Mass of the unit cell is equal to Z multiplied by M upon Na. Volume is equal to A cube. So density we have found. This is the molar mass or the atomic mass of the atom. Molar mass or the atomic mass of the metal that we are considering. So we just need to find out what is the value of M. So M will be equal to rho A cube Na upon Z. So this will be the value for molar mass or the atomic mass of the metal which is leading to the formation of the metallic lattice. Hope this is clear to you. So in the next video, I will be taking up the next 5 questions. Okay, so if you have any kind of doubts, you can just write in the comment section below. And if you have got some kind of clarity on the concepts, just like this video and share this video with your friends. and subscribe to the channel so that you can get the notifications of my further videos. All right. And if you want to directly learn from me in my live online classes, go to the description, and from there you will know how you can reach out to me. All right. I will see you in the next video.